Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for July 26th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 208. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Today we're going to be talking about SAG-AFTRA strikes again, the kayak of moving using AI, trees remove methane, SDCC 2024 announcements, apparently all of them, still in space with no return date, causing cancer cells to self-destruct. It's a sciencey article, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Taco Bell continues to dominate the fast food wars. Zero-emission hydrogen train. A personal cybersecurity concierge. And boneless wings with a bone lawsuit. Someone has a bone to pick. That and more. All powered by ohmTown.com. Go over, become a citizen. We'll walk you through it all on the other side of this. Alrighty, Roo. Hey, guess what? My main monitor a couple of days ago started acting kind of glitchy. And it's the one that sits right here in front of me. And I use two systems. To stream when I stream a game, when I do the shows, and along with the Sentient AI, I have a plurality of monitors. Well, my main monitor went out, so I had to take the one that was right above it and put it down below. So right now I'm actually looking at a completely empty space, and it's the oddest feeling. Usually I'm looking at the computational power meters, basically a cascade of characters from the Sentient AI, and no can do without looking over there, which is actually like I'm looking at the articles, and
That's
it's weird.
Gonna be odd today.
Yeah, so things are going to be wonky because I tend to look at y'all, and that's right there, but the visualizer for me and the Sentient AI to communicate is now over there. I don't know. Anyway, we have 10 articles that are all set up, ready to go. I won't be able to interact so much with the Sentient AI unless they speak. So dive in whenever you want. That said, actually, let me do something real quick. So at least I can... Yes, this is inside baseball. All right. So let's get into the SAG-AFTRA thing. The first article is over in the wanted channel. Oh, the monitor basically started flickering, really high frequency flickering.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, and I started troubleshooting it and different cables, actually using different cables to different monitors, and the problem wasn't there. Then I took that monitor and connected it to another computer, and every combination of different cable, different monitor, different computer, and it was always this one monitor. So I went and looked up the warranty on this Asus monitor. And when do you think it expired?
Yesterday.
Well, might as well be 3 months ago. I don't know what's going on with the static.
It always is, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like planned obsolescence, but in this case, it basically said your warranty is up, so I'm gonna go and end my run time. And it's the first time that I've ever had a monitor. Like, I have other monitors that are 9 years old that are still 1080p. They're not driving at 164 hertz or anything like that, but great color reproduction and still stable as all get out, and no burnt or dead pixels. Perfect, right? But this one, it was my latest purchase for a monitor. Within
of course
4 years it dies. So my other monitors are older. Anyway, she no fly. So let's get into this. I need closure, so I had to talk about it. Come over to Twitch and YouTube and talk to us about the shenanigans of your hardware and software if you want to. Hell, maybe you
Are
got
you
hit.
working through the 5 stages?
I am, yeah. Acceptance is never going to happen, though. I'm miffed. Come on, Asus. This was supposed to be a great monitor. And it was great while it lasted, but boy, oh boy. Oh, did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
What the heck?
Is something going on today, like an electrical storm?
I don't know what's going on. It's not the display. Okay, well, maybe I hit a kid. I don't know. I know that that monitor is bad, though. Well, anyway, let's get into this. Hopefully it doesn't die on me. Oh, God. My capture card is dying now. That'll be really bad. Okay, SAG-AFTRA is going on strike against video game companies. The union, best known for representing Hollywood performers, is moving ahead with a strike against some major players in the video game industry starting at 12:01 a.m. on July 26th. At stake is compensation and consent for the use of performers' voices and likenesses in AI content, which apparently never got hashed out in the agreement with movie
Which
strike.
doesn't make sense. Wasn't that one of the major sticking points to begin with?
I thought so too, yeah. So the union has tackled similar issues in the movie and TV industries and is looking to flex their power once again, this time targeting video game makers. It seems to me like it's all balkanized, and so there's these agreements within, slices of this and that and the other, and I don't quite get why. Look, if I do a work, I do that work. I never give you the ability to use my likeness and my voice anywhere else.
Right. Why does a one-time occurrence? I mean, it'd be the same thing. Like, you couldn't just suddenly put the person in the next movie, right? If they have a contract for movie one.
Right. Yeah. I don't get it. But I guess it's my ethical compass that is kind of like hobbled. I'm not opportunistic enough. I'm not predatory enough. Is that it? I mean, do I?
Well, I mean, that's true, right? Those are probably some of the main things on your resume if you're going to be a Hollywood exec.
It's like they're vampires, right? You allow them into your house once, and apparently they can just walk right on in whenever they want to.
Right, exactly.
Interesting. Maybe is that what the industry, the entertainment industry, is basically Blade, and of course it's R-rated because there's going to be a whole lot of F-bombs and strikes. We'll just call it strikes. So the article's over at pocket-lint.com. Roger Fingus is the author of this. I think that's how they pronounce it.
You don't mind the dash at all, do you?
I don't mind the dash at all. I'm going to dash on to the next article here in a second. So they are going to go on strike at 12:01 a.m. on July 26th. So yesterday. It's moving ahead against some of the major players in video game industry. At stake, compensation and consent. One of the things that I kind of knew about, but it was kind of funny because you know that it's called Hot Ones, I think it's called, right? The
yes,
YouTuber.
That's the thing with the wings and the interviews.
Yeah, Matt Damon, which is kind of a funny thing because the last article today is about hot wings or boneless wings. So, but they use bone-in wings, which I don't like. Anyway, too inside baseball.
Well, it's non sequitur.
That's true. Yeah, everything is a. Hey, guess what? And look what I can do. Hold my boneless wing. So Matt Damon, I think it was on there, and they were talking about, what's going on with the strike and all of that kind of stuff, and why does this matter, and what was the impact of streaming. And he said basically that DVDs used to be kind of a cash cow. And so when streaming platforms kicked off, it basically took that check away 6 months later. So a movie would hit the theaters, it would have its run for 6 months. People would either buy the DVD or rent it, and everybody would get a piece of the action, right? But buying the DVD meant a little cash grab, right? which is fine. That's how the industry worked. But then streaming kicked in. And because streaming isn't a sale, they didn't get the same revenue gen.
Which is interesting because you'd think they would have had the same, well, the studios may not have wanted to do it that way, but it should have just counted as another sale, essentially.
Well, I mean, for every stream, like a radio play, they should get a piece of the action. But there's a dynamic here that's wrong, because the streaming companies are making bank. What is going on? You hear that too?
Well, I hear some critters in ohmTown.
Oh, you don't hear static? No? Okay, maybe it's just me. And these headphones, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, so to me, it seems like every time they stream everybody is making money, right? They're raising the rates. There are people that are being made filthy rich, but why isn't more of it going to the actors? Well, look around. There are actors that are making tens of millions of dollars for one show. So how does that translate? Don't you think that it's a little bit odd that people are really bent out of shape for the writers and for the creatives when the actors are making millions of dollars doing the embodiment of the writing? But it needs to be.
A lot of them aren't. I mean, there's a select group that are, certainly.
Right. So the way that Matt Damon described it was, well, if I do a movie for $25 million, I have to do $25 million worth of marketing. And to be in the green, I have to make $100 million because I've spent 25 on creating it, spent 25 on marketing it. So now I need to make 100 million to pay it all back, and pay everybody, and everybody gets a piece of the action.
Right.
Because even the theaters get a piece of the action too. It's a big chunk apparently. But what I've always wanted is the real nuts and bolts behind the scenes bookkeeping for all of this, because I'm kind of hell-bent on this. I seriously think that the supply side, and not the economic definition of supply side, but the suppliers for raw materials are raising their prices, and it's translating into other things. And so everybody is jacking the price up more and more and more to get more of the apple, more of the pie. But there isn't more pie. It's because everybody has been raising their prices up. And
right, and if everybody adds another percentage or whatever, right, it's getting really pricey.
Yeah, and so what could have been saved money sitting in the coffers of each individual, it's now being pulled just so people could have food and drink and so on and so forth. I think it's more complex than just this conversation, but I wanted to say that I think that the people that are doing all of the writing, they're the ones that are making everything possible for the actors to actually to ply their trade. And I think,
right, if anything, they should be more compensated than the actors, right?
Well, I think it should be at parity, because without one, the other one wouldn't exist. Yeah. And I've gotten into these arguments with people who go, well, idea people are a dime a dozen. And I'm like, really? Execute on no idea there, bub. You need an idea person.
Correct.
Just like I need
without
somebody.
The idea or the script or whatever, forget it.
Yeah. So if anything, there needs to be an equal partnership. But that's not what happens. You get a quote unquote big name actor, and they command a massive amount of wealth away from the people that are doing the writing, the directors, etc. And the directors seem to have no problem because they had their agreement, whipped out, set on the table, they win. So I just don't get how this became even an option for anybody, even in video games, in movies, anywhere. That They filmed somebody once and suddenly they have access to their voice, their likeness, everything from end to end. It's batshit crazy. I just don't see it. So let's keep moving, though. We've got a lot more, and I'm actually going to try and do more shows today because tomorrow's going to be extremely busy if we don't do some of the shows. And then I have some news regarding ohmTown in general. Over this next coming week, there's going to be, a change. So placeholders have to be in place this coming week because Mayor Watt has mayoral duties that they need to attend to. So let's keep going through the show's articles. This next article is over in Technology Today. This AI startup wants to be the kayak.com of moving. WeMove uses image recognition software and machine learning to help you book a move without ever talking to a salesperson. Lisa Lacey over at cnet.com put the article together, and apparently they want to use AI. Moving ranks is one of the most stressful life events. In fact, when you start looking into this, people rank moving along with like a death in the family, getting married, getting divorced, losing your job, getting a job.
I didn't know that was that high up there.
Yeah, it's apparently pretty traumatic. So beyond the stress of packing and unpacking and starting at a new workplace and schools and finding new doctors and veterinarians and friends, there's also the nerve-wracking process of simply finding a mover. Having done this several times, it becomes problematic, mainly because you have to trust that they're going to do it right, and then you find out that half of it is sitting somewhere else, and the other half
is it's delivered. Sitting for a month or something.
Yeah, we'll get to you. So the status quo leaves a lot to be desired, and so there is a company that wants to change all of that. WeMove founder Travis Benoit. What we wanted to do was streamline the entire process, very similar to what you think of when you think about planning a trip. In fact, Fort Lauderdale, Florida-based WeMove aspires to be the kayak.com of moving. By that, it means it wants to be able to book your move online, much like you would a vacation. The problem, though, is, again, having done this before several times, you want to vet your movers. I don't know if I would actually count. Okay, at least not in the early stages. I would wait until there's much more provenance here in the reputational record of the movers, because people are going to interact with some movers and it's going to be horrible, and then you find out that those are the same ones you booked for yours, at least until there's plenty of record there. So it says its AI model was trained on 20,000 household items, including bulky items like pinball machines and grand pianos. So you basically scan everything, and then you find out, this mover can do it, that mover can do it.
But it looks like they do assign you a carrier, which I don't like.
Right.
To your point earlier, unless they do some serious vetting of those on the platform. I mean, at some point, I don't care if they're all 4-star and above or whatever, but right, like major companies.
Yeah, exactly. So they say here, for example, a long-haul carrier is going across the country, and they pick up your load from, say, Los Angeles, and they're on their way to Miami, and the system knows that they've dropped off 500 cubic feet in Texas, and we can automatically tell that carrier, well, we know you're going to Miami, and we have 500 cubic feet sitting here in Texas, so your truck never has to go partially empty. But that's not helping me out. That's helping out the movers to not deadload their vehicles, which is something you don't want to do. That's what logistics companies do day in, day out. What I want is somebody to carry my existence in boxes where I pack it, unless they do that too. With kid gloves, I want my stuff to show up in boxes that are sound, not like my luggage at LAX when they ran over it with one of their vehicles. Yeah.
Or when there was an animal running around the tarmac.
Yeah, that one was interesting too. Everybody chasing after a little dog. Okay, let's keep going though. The AI startup is called WeMove, and it's actually in its early startup investment phase. So if you're interested in it, keep an eye on it. Maybe it'll be another kayak, and that made people millionaires. So maybe you can get in
I
on it.
do like that it simplifies it. It seems like there are some services that are such a hassle for people. You know, you have to have multiple visits with the company and you don't have a price, and it's just, it doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yeah, some of these boxes say this way up and they're upside down.
Upside down, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, and like I had a delivery that has that same arrow, and it was upside down on the porch. I'm like, it's really. You actually sent me a picture of it upside down, you know. So when I opened it up,
Okay,
everything.
that's good.
And it actually is kind of problematic with this because everything that was supposed to be settled into the bottom of the carrier was upside down, pressed against something that it shouldn't have been pressed against. So you have to flip it back over and then hope that everything corrects itself, but not always. Anyway, yeah, so keep an eye out for WeMove. Maybe it'll make your life easier, folks. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Climate change surprise. Trees remove methane from the air. New research reveals that tree bark microbes absorb significant amounts of methane, increasing the climate benefit of trees by about 10%. So,
Okay, how did we just discover that in 2024?
I don't know. Let's find out. University of Birmingham, and they put the article together, and it's published over at scitechdaily.com. But it's not about the tree itself. It's about the bark and microbes in them. So apparently the finding underscores the importance of trees in mitigating climate change and supports tree planting and forest conservation as key strategies in global methane reduction efforts. So what we need is, instead of cutting down all of the forest and putting cattle, we need to leave a lot of the trees around it, like a green belt, like we're supposed to be doing with cities, and leave this green belt around it so that it'll absorb the methane from the cows and offset it. And if we can figure out the mathematics there, what is the efficiency, and increase maybe through selection, some unnatural selection. You know, you take a couple of really good methane absorbing trees and you merge them together. You genetically enhance it so that you have a whole bunch of these kinds of trees, basically the pea plant, you know, the whole Punnett square of methane reducing trees. So they say methane is responsible for around 30% of global warming since pre-industrial times, and emissions are currently rising faster than at any point since the records began in the 1980s. Although most methane is removed by processes in the atmosphere, soils are full of bacteria that absorb the gas and break it down for use as energy. Soil has been thought of as the only terrestrial sink for methane, but the researchers are now showing that trees may be an important role in this as well, perhaps more so than soil. I find it really interesting. I've never heard anything about this until this article. So
No, I mean, and I wonder why they decided to investigate this. Like, what was the clue that this was happening?
So the researchers investigated upland, tropical, temperate, and boreal forest trees. Specifically, they took measurements spanning tropical forests in the Amazon, Panama, temperate broadleaf trees, and I think it's Witham. Then again, I don't know. I think, yeah, Wytham Woods in Oxfordshire, UK, the boreal coniferous forest in Sweden. The methane absorption was strongest in the tropical forest, probably because microbes thrive in the warm, wet conditions found there. On average, the newly discovered methane absorption adds around 10% to the climate benefit that temperate and tropical trees provide. So we need to keep allowing the trees to exist to absorb this methane, and we are chopping them down for the
Don't we want cement everywhere?
Yeah, that is exactly what we want. All right,
No,
Demon.
we want more trees always.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm still looking for a solution. I want to have either carbon neutral or positive. The only way to do this, I have a product that I've been wanting to release, but it is definitively not carbon neutral. So I've frozen the development of this product until I can make it happen. And the only other solution is something that is like 5 times the cost when I priced it out. And nobody is going to pay 5 times that original price. So anyway, we need to keep on doing this kind of research. So hopefully, that's what taxes are for. It goes into fundamental research, and then we become, as a society, better off because of it. So in addition, the team used laser scanning methods to quantify the overall global forest tree bark surface area, with the preliminary calculations indicating that the total global contribution of trees is between 24.6 and 49.9 millions of tons of methane that are gobbled up by the bacteria that is in the tree bark itself. So the tree shape analysis shows that if all the bark on the trees of the world were laid flat, the area would be equal to the Earth's land surface. So, ta-da!
Wow, I mean, this is really good. Maybe we can find trees that have like more bark per tree or something and really focus on planting those. Or like fast growing bark or something.
It's pretty cool. Okay, so if you are interested in all of these show notes, I already did it once, where you can hit !NSN. It's not formatted properly because I copied it last minute into the ohmTown. If you want to get the show notes, though, you can actually hit !show notes, and that will give you the syntax for all of the commands that will pull the last show's show notes. And if you want to link to the podcast, those are all 7 of our podcasts. We do Non Sequitur News, The Continuity Report, Reality Hacker, Wanted, Technology Today, 4-Wheel Tech, and WarCrafters. We are going to do all of these between today and tomorrow to cover what normally would be done on Sunday, but I'm not going to be available to do that. And then over the next week, there will be placeholder. There won't be any shows for the next week because ohmTown has an event that I have to basically spend all day doing. So what's going to end up happening is not next week, but the week after that, there will be some quick releases of the week's shows, Non Sequitur News, and in that will be the show notes for all of the articles, and I will be going back doing Time Machine episodes to do basically this show in the long form, hour-long show, talking about the news, not just the short snippet for that particular day. That way we maintain the continuity of the show, and nobody has to miss technically a day. But it's going to be weird because I'm going to release a full show a week after the episode should have been on, and then that will be the full show, and I'll just tell everybody, hey, now you can go and listen to Monday's show, Tuesday's show. It's messy, but it's the only way that I can do it. So anyway, let's keep moving on. The next article is over in WarCrafters, every major announcement from s3e208 2024. And I'm not going to be able to go through all of these unless it's a very, very short list. But I guess it is.
We hope that's all.
Wow. So Polygon put this article together. San Diego Comic-Con 2024 was not without its issues. Apparently, pricing for hotels were exorbitant, and events around it were kind of jam-packed and issue. Some people said that there were issues, but there wasn't anything really
with
major.
lodging prices, right?
Yeah. And so it said here, Marvel and DC are both heading into 2024's big show with major questions to answer. Marvel dialed back its plans. Basically, it's something that I had said a while back, that we're being superheroed out, and it's just we're burnt out on the MCU, and DC never rose to the challenge of competing, and so there wasn't anything unique. It was just the same old stuff. Now we've moved beyond those particular actors, and so replacements need to be found, and not everybody has the same charismatic type of presence, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They call it a new wave of superhero fatigue, and I buy into that. It's an interesting turn of phrase. So they talk about Comic-Con will be preemptive victory lap for the company, with Deadpool and Wolverine opening in theaters on July 25th. This is the last 24 hours of the show covers only 24 hours, so this was yesterday when they released it. So and already tracking as a hit. And then they talk about replacing Kang with Doctor Doom, and Suicide Squad director James Gunn took over the company's movie and TV franchise over at DC. But it says that Gunn says he won't be at Comic-Con for any kind of big DC presentation because he's too busy shooting his take on Superman, and a bunch of other stuff here. It says, leaving aside those big two and Disney, which saves its announcements for its annual D23 Expo, there's still a lot going on in media at the con, with panels on upcoming franchise plans for Star Trek, Doctor Who, Transformers, Walking Dead, Alien, as well as upcoming seasons of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Lord of the Rings of Power, and a lot more. And it's running right now until tomorrow, or actually Saturday. So
right, yeah, it's still going. I mean, maybe there will be some more announcements as well, and hopefully they start releasing some of these projects. It seems like there's been a lull in the production, because I think we're still feeling the effects from the writer's strike. Yeah,
and now there's another strike. So we'll see. And just so you know, if you follow this link through ohmTown, the one that's titled SDCC 2024 announcements, that's going to get updated as time permits from the Polygon staff to update that page. That's my understanding of this. So it's kind of a continuing article.
Oh, that's neat.
And a lot of a lot of modern news shows or websites like Polygon do that. They send a representative that hangs out at the event, gathers up information, and live blogs it, updating news as they gather it. So it's smart. All right, let's go on. In more Boeing news, non sequitur news is where the article is housed at ohmTown.com, but Boeing capsule astronauts remain at space station with no return date, according to NASA. Veteran NASA astronauts Barry Butch Wilmore and Sunita Sunny Williams return to Earth delayed until at least August, which is next week, maybe. Officials said Thursday, but I guess we'll find out. Leah Sarnoff.
Yeah, this was an 8-day mission.
Yeah, now it's 50. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I thought it'd have been longer than that, but yeah.
So it was initially planned to be an 8-day mission. Now it's 50 days. Leah Sarnoff over at abcnews.go.com put the article together. Can you imagine? Like, hey, I'm going to go up to space for a week.
And then we're going to go on vacation, or this is going on, or whatever. No. I bet they don't have enough clothes.
Oh my gosh.
They
Oh my
didn't bring
gosh.
enough spacesuits.
I didn't even think about that. They've got like a week worth of clothing. They have to have been sending supplies up periodically. I don't remember hearing a lot about supplies, but I guess it's not
I
really
think we
exciting.
did see something about it, but yeah.
So it says thruster failures that caused issues on the launch trip to ISS and helium leaks on the Starliner capsule have led to continued delays, according to Boeing. But everybody knew about these leaks. I called it after the very first attempt, and the profile, the report that came out of it basically showed a stuck valve, and that valve was part and parcel to a leak, and then they did another attempt and that one leaked, and basically I said this thing looks like it's held together by duct tape and bubble gum. I have used other colorful terms too, but they found 5 leaks on June 11th. After discovering one, it basically turned into a complete...
Yeah, how many too many? 5. They shouldn't have any leaks.
Yeah, it should never have left the pad in my estimation, but after the second time it kind of wet the bed, I even told the Sentient AI that they're going to make it happen. They're going to make it go, because they can't show that this is just a horrible decision, and they need better, a better solution than this ship. But anyway, and so while it's been up there, apparently it's been leaking helium, and so now I don't think those helium tanks even exist as helium tanks. So they're
Well,
gonna have to
right.
figure
Isn't
out...
it worse off than when it got there?
Yeah, it should have just turned around. It should have just done what we do with scuba diving. When you only have one tank and you want to train to down to 150 feet and you don't use exotic gas, you just do a bounce. You go down, you touch the ground, the 150, 165 feet, and you come back up, you do your decompression stops, and you make it home safe. That's what they should have done on this thing. They should have gone up there, said, we're SOL, we need to go back home now, just bounced right off, and if anything, deliver the goods, close it back up, and come back down, while they still had more of an option than where they are now, 2 months into something that was supposed to be only a week. So I wish them luck. I hope they solve the issue, but they kept calling it an 8-day minimum mission. Yeah.
I'm not sure that's exactly what it was originally set up as.
No. They said that it was an 8-day mission, but then suddenly I think they started saying...
Yeah,
8-day
they added
minimum.
the minimum, though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure. Other duties as assigned.
Mm-hmm.
So this next article is over in Technology Today. Revolutionary compound forces breast cancer cells to self-destruct. It's something that I've been talking about here in ohmTown, and in Non Sequitur News and in Technology Today, is this idea that we need to figure out how to induce apoptosis so that cells basically self-destruct when their timer goes off. That process is hobbled in cancer cells. OSU researchers found compounds that turn BCL2 protein into a tumor killer, offering new breast cancer therapies. Studies showed that the compounds effectively kill cancer by causing them to self-destruct. Oregon State University put the article together. It's published at scitechdaily.com. So the holy grail in cancer research funding is finding a molecular target that plays a major essential role in cancer cell growth that you can go after without causing side effects, that is, without affecting regular cells. Said Siva Koluri, professor of environmental and molecular toxicology at the College of Agricultural Sciences. Quote, multiple pathways control a normal cell to be normal, and cancer cells hijack one of those pathways that control the rate of proliferation and or death. And that, they even mention it. So many cells, and just so y'all know, just like all the rest of these times, you don't read the articles before the show. Our reaction to this is a natural reaction to us discovering that they're talking about the stuff. and thankful that they're talking about it. So many types of cells are recycled, Kalori said, through a programmed cell death process called apoptosis. Cancer cells, however, neutralize pathways that ordinarily kill cells, allowing those cells to grow out of control and in many cases metastasize or spread to other parts of the body. And whenever you hear that metastasize, it usually is like, a doctor doesn't say that lightly, because it provokes a thought of prolific, expansive spread of cancer.
Well, it's a specific stage. It's usually like the last stage of cancer if they're staging it.
Yeah. So BCL2 is an anti-apoptosis protein produced in higher levels. Called it the moment that I saw this thing. I hope that this actually becomes a solution. Kalori said inhibiting BCL2 has been successful in treating certain blood cancers, but not for solid cancers such as breast cancer. Cancer cells are so smart, they figure out ways to survive. Many therapies do work for a while. It's like making a car stop only to have the car move again. Here we're completely taking the wheels off the car. We use the same BCL2 pathway, but fundamentally make a new discovery, changing how this protein functions so it starts killing cancer cells. So it reactivates apoptosis.
I mean, this is really big news in cancer research.
And if they've figured out how that actually takes place, reactivating apoptosis, it means a normal cell wouldn't be activated for apoptosis because it isn't deactivated.
Right.
So it would follow its natural progression of cell death when its time comes. So this is awesome. They say promising implications in future steps. This is very promising because many metastatic cancers have high BCL2 levels. This increased BCL2 expression is also common in cancer that has become resistant to therapies. Changing the conformation of BCL2 and using the pathway to kill cells is a distinctively different approach than what has been tried before. A lot of cancer treatments, although some of them are pharmaceutical, there's like chemo and radiation therapy is much more, I don't know, radiation
like
therapy in general is
destructive.
Macro instead of micro. It's not a scalpel. I mean, and even that is kind of harsh to say out loud. But if this turns into,
it is targeted, but not as much.
Again, it's more like using a nuke than,
Right.
So they say revolutionary compound. So I'm really curious what the means for this would ultimately be. If this is a pill that somebody can take and it makes its way into the bloodstream and does its activation simply through that, or if you have to take it like chemo, or some other blood transfer type of thing, transfusion, whatever it takes, get this stuff into people so that we can actually find a cure in a more macro sense for cancers, because cancer sucks. And I want to be PC and like child safe. When I do the shows now, I'm trying to become family friendly, but fuck cancer. Okay, we're gonna move on. The next article is over on the Mobile channel. Taco Bell is turning one of its signature menu items into gelato.
Okay, I'm kind of afraid to know what the item is. There's probably one thing I could think of that might be good as gelato. I can't think of anything else on the menu.
Is it going to be a sweet gelato, or is it going to be a savory gelato?
That's exactly it. Like, if it's sweet, this could be really good.
If you're in chat, either on YouTube or on Twitch, tell me, throw it in chat. What do you think, Taco Bell? You could actually post it, because this is going to end up over on YouTube, and you can post it in the message board underneath. What do you think? And obviously, I'm about to ruin this party by saying what it is. But So we have this ongoing world building thing here in ohmTown, and that is that Demolition Man was actually a documentary from the future brought to the past and turned into a movie to show what's going to end up ultimately happening. And one of those things is that Taco Bell wins the fast food wars. That's what everybody eats, along with singing show tunes and the
I mean, maybe
seashells.
their solution is because they're turning food into gelato, and who doesn't want gelato?
Who doesn't want gelato? I don't know, a savory gelato. I don't think I've ever had a savory gelato. So let's see what it is. It's over at Quartz. Francisco Velasquez over at QZ.com or Quartz put the article together. The Tex-Mex fast food chain is commemorating the 20th anniversary of its Mountain Dew Baja Blast and turning it into a gelato? Really? So yeah, starting on September 3rd, according to a statement made on Friday, it's going to offer Baja Blast gelato.
Okay, well, that was a little deceptive because at least that has a possibility of becoming a gelato. Like, I'm thinking like burritos or something.
I was hoping that it would be like a churro gelato,
Well,
right?
that's the thing I was saying might be good.
They got that
I didn't say
cinnamon
what
and
it
it's
was,
sweet,
but yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. Even if it had a little crunch in there, that would be really great. And that stuff would maybe survive. I don't know. So the launch of the Italian dessert comes at the same time that Taco Bell is celebrating its 20th anniversary of its Mountain Dew Baja Blast, which the company has dubbed the Baja-versary. This is something that when I go to Taco Bell, I don't get that. I get unsweetened iced tea. But I know people that get this every time they go. They get a large one of these with no ice. And I'm just kind of blown away by that. It seems I've had like a sip and it's just so overwhelmingly sweet. So saccharine that my head wants to pucker into my shoulders. And this is coming from a person who used to drink multiple Cokes. And I finally
Is this like the Beetlejuice character?
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it, but yes.
Yeah, exactly that. So separately, customers can get a $1 medium-sized Baja Blast drink or freeze every day between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. Meanwhile, for Stanley Cup stands, or in this case, reward members, the chain said that starting on August 13th at 2 p.m., loyalty members can score a limited edition Stanley Baja-versary Cup. Oh my God, I am not going to be going to Taco Bell on August 13th. Because
no, oh my gosh.
it says additionally, the first 20 users to redeem the limited time tumblers that day will get a free year-long supply of Baja Blast as well.
In fact, I wouldn't be in like a 5-block radius of the Taco Bell on that day if possible, unless you're trying to get that.
It's going to be like one of those competitions where you have to put your hand on the vehicle, and if you lift it up, you lose. Everybody is going to have their hand on the door of the Taco Bell just to get the Stanley Cup. You know, they don't even want the Mountain Dew anything. They just want the Stanley Cup. I guess that's still a thing. So anyway, it's losing its edge. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. The first zero-emission hydrogen train in the United States is setting off in late 2024. Yay. The hydrogen-powered train can travel 46 hours without charging. I think that's pretty awesome. What the heck? Tamara Palmer over at cnet.com put the article together, and there it is. Look at that. A Flirt.
I mean, that
H2.
kind of looks like a regular train, doesn't it? Well, kind of. Not at the bottom.
Well, it's a little more streamlined, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, but this is from this picture is from 2022, but I think it's the same thing. The first zero-emission hydrogen-powered passenger train in the U.S., called the Flirt H2, will begin service later this year in Southern California. The record-holding commuter train will operate on the Aero line of the MetroLink train. The San Bernardino County Transportation Authority announced earlier this month, but don't expect it to take cross-country or even from end to end of the state. So the train will travel a 9.6 mile route between San Bernardino and Redlands, California. That's it, a 10 mile. It can drive for 46 hours without charging, but it's only going to be driving.
So maybe it should take a 46-hour route.
Right?
But maybe that's a massive commuter corridor or something. I mean, think about how many people it could take off the road.
Yeah, it might, but
I mean, I don't know if it is.
I think what it is, though, is that there's no contiguous train track from one side of the coast to the other anymore. You basically are going to have to put that flirt on a bicycle and pedal over to some other track to go across like Ohio or something.
That's going to be heavy if you're carrying that with you.
Hey, man, those Uber Eats drivers, or delivery people.
With the pizza slices.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that one is hilarious. So there was a pizza delivery guy from Uber Eats, and we talked about it. It was like a week ago now. And the guy, I drove pretty wild, I guess, and the pizza opened up inside the thermal bag and dumped out into the thermal bag. And so when he went to deliver it, he handed the customer an empty box and reached into the bag and threw pizza onto the box, all mangled
individually.
Individually.
Not even a whole pizza. That'd be bad enough.
Yeah. And then I guess the guy goes, "You don't expect me to eat this, do you?" And he goes, "Well, I delivered it." No.
I'm not sure you did.
Yeah. It's like the Delta's old message. We get you there. We don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't care how long it took or how bumpy it was or whatever.
You might have been stuck in the overhead luggage compartment, but we got you there. So the train industry in the U.S. is moving towards sustainability. In an April release, Amtrak stated that the company is aiming to achieve net zero emissions by 2045. And in its statement, Statler said, it's the first train manufacturer in the world to produce narrow gauge hydrogen trains, and the company has been contracted to supply a total of 15 hydrogen powered train vehicles in Italy. I think this is great. I was looking at this picture and it made it look like there was a submerged, like a cargo carrier, cargo
right,
ship.
It does.
But I think this thing generates power because it's sitting there flexing on top of the waves. So, yeah. There's a lot of industries that are switching over to this. In California in particular, they're pushing really hard to get sustainable. Like ICE engines ICE vehicles are no longer being allowed to get sold in California. Others are actually picking up off of that, riffing off of it. We'll see what happens. I don't think that there's enough charging. I think everything needs to be hybrid, and just start reducing our need for oil and gas. But good luck. I'm all for it. But and I wish that we
still have a lot of steps though to get there.
I think the bigger problem is that people just don't respect mass transit, and it turns into kind of a hot mess where everything is almost like it has a prison aesthetic where it has to be all stainless steel because they're going to come in with a power washer and hose it down after each traversal of the 10 miles. It's just kind of a sad state of affairs. But anyway, let's keep moving. We've got 2 more articles, including this one. The next one is in the Hatch Ideas channel, which talks about business transformation and strategic management. The personal cybersecurity concierge is a new perk and need among the wealthy because
I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a modern food taster, right? And you have to be the king, you have to be royalty to have a food taster, but you're also the target of people trying to delete you. So I guess the personal cybersecurity concierge is a new perk and need among the wealthy, which is kind of what is it? When you it's like a caste system, right? Oh, the wealthy are the only ones that can afford cybersecurity. Well, no, everybody needs to be aware of it. And I'm not going to sit on my soapbox for this, but anyway, the rich are being targeted by hackers, leading wealth managers, family offices, and executives to hire security concierges for personal and home devices. But that is just cuckoo, right? You click with care. That's the message that ohmTown promotes. Click with care. Be aware. Don't sit there and click on random shit.
This kind of makes sense. Not that I mean it's a necessity, but if you're wealthy and you don't want to do anything, you want to pay people to do things for you, I think this is one of these things. But I agree. Like it's easily avoidable.
But the problem with that is that a cybersecurity concierge isn't going to get strapped to your back or out in front of you like the little baby carriers, and my arms are going to be dangling out and I'm going to go, no, don't click that.
Correct. I mean, they might set it up correctly, but then you still have the user error problem.
The human is the weakest link in all of this. So Ellen Shang over at CNBC.com put this article together. High-profile hacking cases like Jeff Bezos' phone, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk's Twitter accounts highlighted, which is ironic, highlighted in recent years how vulnerable wealthy individuals can be to cyber attacks. But it's not just wealthy individuals, it's companies, and it's mom and pop, and it's everybody in between. But it says it's not just billionaires increasingly targeted by cyber criminals on their personal devices or at home, with wealth managers, family offices, executives turning to cybersecurity concierge services for higher levels of defense. But really, once you are told, essentially click with care, you should always have that little, like a reminder, right? Some people put a rubber band around their wrist and they snap the rubber band to remind them of something, and it becomes memory, and then it becomes muscle memory, and then it becomes just a habit. Don't click on random stuff that gets sent. Don't give personally identifiable information over the phone. If somebody says that they need something from you and you have to do it immediately right now, go, hey, let me take your name and number and I'll call you right back. And then call the company that they're actually saying they represent. Don't call that number back. And verify that there is somebody out there trying to get in touch with you from said company. There's no other reason for somebody trying to rush you through some decision that you need to make with immediacy over the phone, other than it's a scam. So it says now the low-hanging fruit are high net worth families, some of which have the resources of big companies with hundreds of millions or even billions, but are not as secure, said Bill Roth, CEO of Hard Target, a cyber resilience firm for high net worth families, advisors, and family offices. Cybersecurity incidents, that's a liability that I would not want to take on as a cybersecurity analyst.
Exactly.
Because they've got the money to bury you, because nobody is 100% correct all the time. No. CrowdStrike, for instance. But you're being attacked all the time. You don't even know you're being attacked. Even at your home internet access point, your IP address is getting bombarded by attackers. You don't know it. Because you don't have a firewall sitting there on the outside of the ISP's firewall, that gateway. But if you were to put one on the inside of that gateway, you would be able to monitor attacks that are actually making it through. People that are doing intelligence gathering about you. At any rate, a billionaire or a millionaire, the moment you mess up and they actually get breached, the explaining, the paperwork that you would have to do, and the fact that they could destroy you.
Yeah, you're not making enough money from them to withstand that. Like, the only way that's working is if you're a concierge for multiple clients or something, maybe.
So they talk about these JP Morgan high net worth clients get help to combat the growing risk of cyber breaches. Family offices and wealth managers are talking about cybersecurity with their high net worth clients more frequently. Firms are not just securing their own platforms and ensuring clients don't send sensitive information over the email, but they're also making efforts to ensure their clients' home networks and devices are secure. But again, you can do all of that kind of babysitting, but the moment you walk away, one of them numbnuts is going to click a link because their friend Joe said in an email, "Hey, this is hilarious, click it." And I know this because for 5 years I ran a company, it was my own company, wherein I provided anti-spam, anti-phishing, threat detection, etc. To end users, but people didn't want to pay for it. Yet it took 99.99, actually it was 9997% of all of the threats offline before it even reached the target. So people didn't want to pay for it. These high net worth people are going to go at somebody else's problem, even when you do counsel them day in and day out. But I guess if they're interested in their cybersecurity, that's half the battle.
Well, they'll probably pay you more if you don't lecture them on how to do things, right?
Yeah, you just solve it. Yeah. They said a lot of things you can do yourself, but we do evaluate where we see their need is. She said she recalled one client, a family with 7 children, each with 5 devices, knew that changing passwords on all 35 devices would be a lot of work. So that's where we might suggest a concierge. That won't make a difference because if you put in a password, you still have to tell them, they have to remember it. It's better if they create their own password. At least allow the device to record it. Then password protect the device itself. It's pretty hard to get into the enclave. But anyway, depending on the device, Android versus Apple, I don't know. There's a lot here. So these family office gaps in cyber defense, cybersecurity is extraordinarily expensive. So when you can get an $80,000 plus job with a 2-year degree and some gumption, you pay attention, and you kind of are an achiever, not somebody that's just jumping through the flaming hoop. Yeah, it commands a lot of money. And classes in cybersecurity, depending on the organization you go to, are $5,000, $7,000, $12,000 for one 5-week stint. It's quite expensive. So there aren't.
I guess there's not a lot of room for error, right?
Right. But there's always going to be, there's a percentage that's always going to get through. You just have to mitigate the damage and plan for recovery, continuity of operations, disaster recovery in particular. But anyway, and at least at the very end, they say, as goes the physical world, so goes the digital world. As Christopher Budd, director at cybersecurity firm Sophos, says, just as people have their own private security and their own bodyguards when they have an elevated risk profile in the physical world, it makes perfect sense that we're seeing the same happen in regards to the digital world, except the digital world is invisible, and it's ephemeral, and it can come across as innocuous as an email asking you to click on a link, and then that link leads you to a website, and that website says, hey, type in your password and your email address and your password. It looks like a Google login, but it's actually my specially constructed website spoofing Google. It'll even allow you to connect to Google, but guess what? I've actually recorded your login credentials and shipped them off to some remote location. That takes counseling, somebody sitting there babysitting a high price client. That doesn't happen every day. In fact, most organizations have you train every year, at least once a year, on cybersecurity related matters. And boy.
Right. I guess you can't just take a class once and be an expert for life.
Yeah. You just keep on getting reminded. So, hey, all of these high profile billionaires and millionaires, reach out to Mayor Watt. I guess I'm willing to get strapped to somebody's chest in one of those little baby Bjorn kind of things. Is that what it is? Right? And I'll just hang there.
Those things look so awkward.
Depends on the price, I suppose. Everybody's got a price, right? Right? Nah, I would never do that. So the final article for today is in Non Sequitur News. A man sued a restaurant after a bone in his boneless wings got lodged in his throat and he lost. I don't know how anybody could lose. So a man in Ohio said that he had to visit the ER after a bone from a boneless wing got lodged in his throat, a lawsuit wrote. The man sued the restaurant, its supplier, and a chicken farm, but lost his case. He appealed the ruling twice. This week, Ohio Supreme Court agreed with the case's dismissal. How? Grace Dean over at Business Insider put this article together. Now I want boneless wings.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how this got to the result.
So this was filed back in 2017. My God. 7 years later, it actually gets dismissed after, I guess, 2 appeals. So the lawsuit said that after 3 days, during which Berkheimer said he struggled to eat, he went to the emergency room with a high fever and physicians found a chicken bone lodged in his throat. The doctor removed the bone, thought to be about 1.5 inches long, said that it tore his esophagus, caused a bacterial infection and other medical issues. Filed a lawsuit the next year against Wings on Brookwood, as well as its food supplier and a chicken farm, which I don't know why those would be the problem. If anything, boneless wings, it would have been them, and then they can sue the food supplier. But
correct.
But after Butler County Court of Common Pleas sided with the defendants, he took the case to 12th, and so on. So both courts said that because bones are naturally found in chicken breasts and not a foreign object added to them, a consumer could have reasonably expected to find them in their food and guarded against this? No.
I think this is way off.
Wow. You don't buy boneless wings expecting there to be bones in them. Even if it is a naturally occurring thing,
it's like
plus strict
if
liability.
You're buying something without flour or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I don't see why it's really any different.
Yeah, if I buy nuts and it doesn't say on it, this also may have peanuts, then I expect it to not have peanuts. And if I find a peanut, strict liability. I don't get it. That's weird.
That's very weird.
It's like buying a house and go, well, it was a house, so you should expect people to already be in there. No.
Right. No, thank you.
So it says they're typically made from strips or chunks of chicken breast meat and then breaded and fried. The name is used to differentiate them from bone-in wings. The confusion led to at least one lawsuit in 2023, a suit of Buffalo Wings, claiming that the name of boneless wings was misleading. They're conflating a different issue here. This person in particular likes to sue because the marketing is... How do you want to describe? So the marketing is like over the top. So Buffalo Wild Wings, it's not made from buffalo and they don't have wings. And so I'm suing Buffalo Wild Wings because it's chicken. And by the way, the reason why this person was actually suing Buffalo Wild Wings is because it was made from breast meat, not wings.
Right. It wasn't actually a wing.
Right. And that's why they were suing, not just because of the name, but because it wasn't actually wings. You get more, by the way, from boneless wings than you do from wings. But it tastes different. But anyway, let's see. So Berkheimer said in court documents that he cut the boneless wing into 3 pieces to eat. A bone of that size would have encompassed nearly an entire third bite of the boneless wing. We conclude a reasonable person could have anticipated and guarded against a similarly sized bone concealed in a bite-sized piece of chicken. That is absolutely absurd. You're blaming the victim for what should have been without a bone. Because there was a restaurant here just outside of ohmTown where they sold crab cakes, and in the crab cake was a piece of plastic which I identified as the plastic from the bucket the crab was sourced in. And so I went back to them and I said, hey, this matches the lip of a white bucket, food safe bucket that the crab was in. And they got really pissy with me, even though I hadn't made any particular demand. And oddly enough, a year later, the business is gone. So maybe other people got hit by this.
Maybe somebody else got mad about it.
Because I wasn't really harmed. It cut my gum, but other than that, I wasn't, put out too much. But I wanted to at least have them pay attention to their quality control. Yeah, it was met negatively. So at any rate, there's liability issues here, and I'm surprised. This court has to be pro-business for it to sit there and find in favor of a business across all three. Finding in favor of the defendant, I think, was rather absurd. For some of the losses, the harm caused, yeah, sure, a person may want to chew their food more than just to consume a third of a boneless wing, but I think that's absurd. And
I don't see how this doesn't go in favor of the consumer, but obviously it didn't.
Yeah, I'm rather shocked. So they just said a reasonable person could have anticipated and guarded against a similarly sized bone concealed in a bite-sized piece of chicken. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, I can tell you this. It's some really bad marketing for wings on Brookwood in Ohio.
Yes, it is. If they were wise, they would have made this right. And
yeah. And I didn't see if there was an ask. I don't know if they were asking for $500,000 or something.
Right. Which would obviously put some businesses under.
Yeah.
But if they were asking for something like an apology or whatever,
I want boneless
or
wings.
a new order of wings.
Hey, the show's over, or I want to go get some boneless wings. Maybe I'll find another weird looking USB drive.
Hey.
Oh, now you identify with the weird looking USB
yes. There's only one.
There is only one. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for hanging out if you're in chat or over in YouTube's chat. We are all done with the show, but what normally happens at the end of this is we're going to drive through the boneless wing restaurant that's in ohmTown, and that'll bring us back to the front page of ohmTown.com. And as a reminder, I'm going to try. We might be able... no, it's really late. We started really late, so... I think what's going to end up happening...
We may or may not do some shows at weird times.
Yeah, we're going to... Yeah, there's a really good chance that we're going to do something at an odd off time when we normally don't do it. But that doesn't really mean... I don't know. It doesn't really mean much because you can always get it as a VOD over on Twitch and over on YouTube. It'll have the show notes. You can download it as a podcast as soon as I put it online. I will try to get them all done and in the can by midnight on Saturday. But oof, that's going to be a hell of a long day. So it is what it is. But unfortunately, for the next week, I'm going to be so busy that I'm not going to be able to do even the show. But we're going to
do Time Machine episodes
and make it up to y'all and make sure that we keep continuity. I mean, hell, we have a show called The Continuity Report. We kind of have to. And then next week, we will do the shows as usual on Sunday, barring any major issues with Mayor All right.
I was going to say, but there's a potential that could be delayed.
True. Not by much. But, well, yeah. No promises, I guess. Anyway, that's it, folks. Thank you very much, and hope to see you either later. So be sure to follow us, or either live later or in the VOD, in the YouTube, in the podcast. Go check them out. Thanks. I'm Mayor Watt, and that's the Sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News.
See you soon. Oh no. Why is that green? Chicken wings.